Who will be Khamzat Chimaev? I think the question right now is if Dricus DuPlessis will be Khamzat Chimaev. In the last interview that we saw with Dricus DuPlessis, he been saying that he doesn't have that much of an interest to fight Sean Strickland right now, and he actually wants to fight the best in the division, and he thinks that Khamzat Chimaev is the best right now.
And if you ask me, what do? I want to fight the best guy. I want to fight the guy the fans want me to fight. And that 100% is Khamzat. Now, if they give me the Strickland fight, great. I'll fight Strickland in February or March or whenever. With the hype right now and what the fans are feeling, and at the end of the day, they are the people that need to be entertained. And if you ask me personally, the Khamzat fight's what I want. I want to take his I want to beat the next best guy. And I've beaten Sean Strickland. Everybody can have their opinion on how close the fight was. Yeah, it was close. And the win is on my record. I've been in there with him. And what excites me right now is getting in there and beating Khamzat Chimaev. That would be first prize. That's what I want.
And I think right now, to be honest, the only guy who can actually beat Khamzat Chimaev is Dricus DuPlessis.
Takedown. And he gets my goodness.
For two main reasons. First of all, how can you beat Khamzat Chimaev? Like I said in the last video, you can only win Khamzat Chimaev in two definitive ways. But they will depend exclusively on your skill set. So you cannot change that shit right now. The two guys that actually made Khamzat Chimaev look human were Gilbert Burns and Kamaru Usman. But for what reason? You ask me. Gilbert Burns was because he was an actually insanely skilled black belt who has an insanely good guard game and actually neutralized Khamzat Chimaev's ability to get onto his back and actually get to do something when he was on Gilbert Burns' guard. There was actually a really huge moment when Khamzat Chimaev was actually on top and Gilbert Burns actually almost had him on an armbar for a split second. And from that moment on, Khamzat Chimaev didn't even shoot anymore. He only shoot when he was actually desperate to get him to the ground because he was taking so much damage during the feet exchanges. So I think when we analyze the Kamaru Usman fight, the Usman fight is the fight that we can actually get something from. Because Plessis is not on the same level of ground game as Gilbert Burns. He will never be, because Gilbert Burns was I don't know how many times Jiu-Jitsu world champion. He actually has the ability to do these types of submissions while on his back. But Kamaru Usman, the thing about Kamaru Usman, if you guys remember the first fight, he did not stop the takedowns during the first rounds. But that was not actually a bad thing, because the thing is, Khamzat Chimaev does not actually have the insane submission game that people think he has. He only submitted guys using rear naked chokes while on their backs, because if you actually look at it, his coach, Finn Fo, his grappling coach, his Jiu-Jitsu coach, he even said himself during an interview that Khamzat Chimaev is not a black belt on Jiu-Jitsu. He has such an insane wrestling skill set. The skill set that he has on wrestling makes up for his lack of skill in Jiu-Jitsu exchanges. So he always gets onto those dominant positions so he can finish those guys. And now that we know that the Whittaker finish was not a complete rear naked choke. It was actually and it was not a neck crank too, because the thing about the Whittaker submission that we now know is that Whittaker, he actually has a problem since forever on his tooth near his chin, that the tooth had actually kind of well adjusted, I would say. And when Khamzat Chimaev actually got his forearm on top of those chins and he cranked it, he actually pushed those teeth back. He didn't break his jaw. He actually just pushed the teeth back, which is insanely dangerous. And that actually happened during the Dricus fight too with Whittaker, as we saw in the latest interview with Dricus DuPlessis, that he actually admitted that this happened.
Rob came out saying that his teeth, the first time the teeth were broken backwards was when he fought me. And funny enough, some of my teammates and friends that watched the fight with me, they said, there's no way. Everybody thought that it was an injury that happened, maybe taking a lot of fights and doing all those camps. Immediately, as a fighter and the fighters that were around me, we said, no ways, that doesn't happen that quickly.
So Whittaker was in actually a similar point as Kamaru Usman was, because Kamaru Usman, he actually got the threat of the rear naked choke onto the fight the same way as Whittaker had, but the choke was not in. On both situations, the choke was not in. The main difference was that Kamaru Usman was actually standing. He actually threw himself onto the ground, and that actually made Khamzat Chimaev to get off his back. But on both situations, he did not have a locked-in submission like Charles Oliveira would have in that situation, or even Islam Makhachev, for example. So the guy is not like an insane jiu-jitsu grappler. He does not have the insane jiu-jitsu finishing capabilities of a jiu-jitsu master. So if you can actually survive the first or second round, it will be like 10-8 rounds. Like if you actually survive the first and the second, it will be like he won like 4 rounds if he actually 10-8 like he did Kamaru Usman on the first round. But if you can actually survive those rounds when he is actually putting insane amount of effort, he gasses out. The guy gasses out. Like that's a fact. The guy gets tired because he's putting so much effort into those takedowns that he actually gets really tired onto the third and fourth round. And in a 5-round fight, if Dricus can actually survive the first 2 rounds, I think he can actually finish Khamzat Chimaev, because he has way more firepower. He has way more grit when it comes to those dog fights. And the second thing is, I think that Dricus DuPlessis, like he showed in the Strickland fight, he is not afraid of going forward. The guy is going to go forward. Strickland is the type of fighter that he actually dictates the pacing of every single fight because he always goes forward. And that is his gameplay for every single fight. He's gonna go forward, he's gonna trade with you. And Dricus DuPlessis was the actual first guy who didn't let Sean Strickland go forward like he wanted to do. Every time that Sean Strickland was actually going forward, Dricus DuPlessis was trying to go forward through some combination, through some 3 punches combination, so Strickland could go back. Dricus could actually start to put his own pressure into the fight. So I think a guy like Dricus DuPlessis who's actually gonna go forward against Khamzat Chimaev, because I think he's gonna go forward against Khamzat Chimaev. He's gonna bring the fight to Khamzat Chimaev. I think that type of fighter can actually dictate a fight against a guy as dangerous as Khamzat Chimaev. Is the key to the win actually, because we never saw anyone go forward against Khamzat Chimaev other than Gilbert Burns when Khamzat Chimaev actually stopped trying to take him down. And we saw that Khamzat Chimaev, when he gets pressured, he does well, but not as well as when he's the one pressuring. So I think Dricus is gonna be able to go forward, throw that pressure, actually try to take Khamzat down, mixing some takedowns just to confuse the guy, actually make him think, throw some punches, throw some combinations. When he's on the pocket, he's not gonna only throw combinations like he did with Israel Adesanya. He's gonna throw 1, 2, 3 and go to the body and go to the double leg. He's gonna go to the single leg. The single leg is gonna throw some punches. I think the style of dog fight that Dricus DuPlessis actually brings to the fighting game is the style that can actually win against Khamzat Chimaev. Because again, a guy like Sean Strickland has a strength, but Dricus DuPlessis, the way that he fights, he always brings that dog fight style. He always brings the fight that actually makes the other guy hustle to get the win. The guy has to hustle, he has to try hard to get the win. And I think Khamzat Chimaev has that dog in him. He has the I gotta hustle, I gotta try, I gotta do what I gotta do. But I think Dricus is gonna be a little bit too much for Khamzat Chimaev. So I think if Dricus wins, if Dricus fights Khamzat Chimaev next, he's the guy in the division to beat Khamzat Chimaev. I don't see any other guy in the division winning against Khamzat Chimaev other than Dricus DuPlessis right now. And that says a lot about Khamzat Chimaev's skill set.